What's going on, guys? Eric Cooper here, product specialist at TOA. Welcome in for another podcast. You guys didn't realize I had the exact same shirt on. Why? Because I love the shirt. All right, guys, brand new topic. Pretty much one of the most affected, obviously everything's affected post-COVID, but is education, right? Education has completely changed because of that style of, I guess I could use the word business, or the way the message is delivered from human being to human being. In the past, it's always been face-to-face. It's always been in person, in large classrooms. So we're going to talk about the shift post-COVID and post-world concern, and how it's drastically changed for so many people out there. It's been absolutely insane. So the biggest changes, and we're gonna focus on K-12 AV systems and not collegiate, because collegiate I think is a totally different conversation. It's on a much larger scale. Traditionally, even though there's high schools out there that are monstrous, but we're going to stick to K-12, and that's been most challenging because I feel like collegiate industries or collegiate campuses were kind of already on the trends for using tech, where the K-12 market, was more traditional or more less inclined to use technology, and that's based on the learning curve and teaching these kids how to use things and whatnot, where the mind is more developed for later stages in life. And even when I graduated from college back in 2010, email obviously was a big thing. Dropbox situations. We weren't doing video type presentations or communications, but when I stepped into the collegiate atmosphere is when technology became much more present and much more useful. And that's when I embraced it. But now we need to get everybody on board. And the K-12 market is the market that's been suffering the most. So we'll dive into that. And I don't want to focus on too much of the tech side. I mean, we're gonna do that, but I want to kind of focus on the environment and what's happening today and how we can react in terms of understanding what's currently happening and how we can design these systems, or how we can recommend or implement going forward. So the first thing I want to bring up is responding in the now. It's right now. What's happening right now? What do people need to operate efficiently? So this point in time is very interesting because we're going back to the normal, even though it's not the normal, but businesses are going back to the office, such as us. We just went back last week. And graduation just happened, so schools are out of session. So this period of time between now and September, typically when schools start up, is going to be crucial to the planning process or the recommendation process, or you guys figuring out what these K-12 education systems actually need to operate efficiently. And that's going to be based on just talking to these people and figuring out, what's not happening. What are they having difficulties with? Take suggestions. It goes on and on and on, but we need to be in the moment today, and we need to understand what's happening in today's world. So strategies to think about currently, and these really aren't for EV integrators, but this is going to be the feedback that you're going to be getting from these educational technology groups. Limiting classrooms, and that's capacity. So limiting classroom and meeting room size capacities, right? So again, once you get this information, think about what you can offer, okay? A big one, and Ian actually mentioned this we're gonna be talking about it last week's webinar, Ian did mention this. I'm all over the place. are going to be repurposing spaces. So for example, let's talk about a gymnasium. Let's talk about a library. These typically on campuses, on K-12 campuses, are your larger type spaces. So you're going to see a trend towards multi-purposing these spaces because of the size, right? It could be, let's take a library as an example here. It could be partitioning a library to add huddle rooms or small meeting spaces for 1 to 5 people or something like that, where they need some sort of AV equipment to be able to communicate or teach or receive information. You're going to see this trend, and the spaces around schools, the larger spaces, which we need to social distance, are going to be used. So barriers, the configuration. So I haven't been in classrooms physically. I'm sure you guys have, but I'm sure they don't look like classrooms back in 2019, right? I've seen pictures, but I haven't physically been. The 6 feet distance rule. So again, and another thing you have to realize is that every district or every school body will, they'll be generally follow the same guidelines. You're probably going to see slight differences in how things are done. So keep those in mind also. And again, just take in what you know based on today, based on the current moment. And especially today where we're transitioning back, we have these 3 months to really plan and design brand new systems or optimize current systems based on these new trends. So this goes into step 2, and that's planning for near term or the near future. And in the educational space, it's going to be September, right? So we want to make sure that these schools are prepared to be able to communicate optimally, depending on their scenario, whether it be hybrid, in-person, out-person, fully remote, doesn't matter. We need to be prepared for that. And we need to, have them prepared for that as well. So a great thing about the way we communicate today is obviously technology and the internet and how everything is now workable. So this can always be scaled. And I want to, reiterate scalability here. And, when you're talking to your clients, make sure you're giving them a system that can be scaled. Always, especially in today's world, which is insanely changing on a day-to-day basis. Make them aware, like, listen, okay, guys, we're going to get you set up for September, but if anything changes, we can help you based on what we're providing you, right? So you're always growing with the business. There's no longer this drop and get out of there scenario. And that gives you guys opportunities to, post-sale, post-support, post-integration. It's actually a huge benefit when you think about it. So, and when I say near future, I think school is a perfect example because you have these, like I've been saying, these 3 months to actually think about and communicate with these technology buyers or the people in charge of technology at a certain campus, and get them set up within these 3 months, get them going. And finally, segueing based on what I said about scalability and flexibility, is looking to the future. We can't predict the future, but the benefits of these IP systems, these networkable solutions, are scalability. So again, you're going to reiterate to the business owner that, listen, it's never a permanent solution. It's a solution for what they currently need at that given moment. And that's the beauty of where this has shifted, because it's never been easier to scale, with digital audio, digital IP, or video. Anything over network can be added, optimized, removed. It's endless. It's truly endless. And that's what keeps these relationships going and going and going. And that's another benefit of digital technology and networkable solutions. It's just being flexible and understanding that, listen, 6 months from now, I guarantee you, There's going to be something new that comes up based on the current scenario, because schools are always, they're always, and I hope this is correct, that they're always trying to get better at what they currently do, and they have to today in order to appropriately, and at the end of the day, you have to think who, aside from the teachers who are delivering the message, but the last person receiving this information is the student. And we need to know what's working and what's not working. And there's always a solution, right? So, and when I say looking toward the far or the future, you have to keep step 1 and step 2 in the back of your minds. You have to be in the now, you have to short-term plan, and also look towards the future. It's difficult, like I said, we can't predict the future, but we have to be in the now, in the moment, at all times, with that forward thinking that, hey, someday this may change, but we need to make sure that their AV equipment is fully scalable, 100%. This goes back to our last podcast as well, when we were talking about IP internet. And we're, like we've been saying in webinars and podcasts, the future is the network, connectivity, bridging that gap. And here at TOA, we are looking towards that. And, we're giving you guys products that are networkable, that can be accessed from anywhere in the world, that can be changed, optimized, maintained, so many different things. So guys, I think these are really good points. So let me just reiterate one more time. Step 1, being in the moment. Step 2, planning for near term. And step 3, finally, always looking briefly. I don't want you to be in the future because we can't predict it, but briefly looking into the future and ensuring that this customer is set up for a potential scale based on their current needs in that moment. And it's just like this revolving circle. You're just constantly going round and round, which is great. You always work. Right. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Sound Supply. I'm your host, Eric Huber. Happy summer. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.